Yo, what's going on guys, Khrase here and welcome back to another Ghost of Tsushima video. Today let's go over all of the legendaries in the game, or at the very least the majority of them. I'm pretty sure that I have all of the legendaries in the game, so this includes like the ranged weapons, the katanas, the ghost weapons. Let me know down below if I'm missing any, but I'm pretty sure that these are all of them, as I have one for each of the types of weapons in the game. So I kind of want to start things off with a few things that you should know about these legendaries. They will be a complete game changer many times. Some of them are extremely powerful with some build combinations, to the point that you might find a otherwise undesirable class to be extremely powerful just because you got a legendary or two over there depending on your build. So let's begin with the katanas. One that I'm using right now as kind of like my main is the Yoshitsune's Hand. It comes by default with the water stance, and by the way, all of the stances on all of these weapons will always be the same primarily. So if you get, for example, a Yoshitsune, it's always going to come with the water stance, but it can roll on its third perk, something like, for example, a wind stance, a bonus moon stance, or maybe a water stance, and so on and so forth. So this comes with a very interesting effect. When you stagger an enemy or a target, which is basically breaking their guards, you have a 30% chance to also cause a knockdown. So basically they fall on the ground, and you can open them up for a finishing move with the square button, which is amazing for most of the targets. Up until the shielded enemies, you can break their guards, but anything from brutes and above, and especially so the mini bosses, I'm pretty sure that you cannot do that, or at the very least I haven't encountered that possibility. But let's go over the second one, called the Stone Striker. This comes with a very interesting ability because it gives you access to a heavenly strike attack. So if you press circle and triangle at the same time, it's going to cost one resolve, but you're going to cast a heavenly strike attack. Now don't confuse this heavenly strike with the heavenly strike that the samurai class has right here at the bottom, because they are completely different types of attacks. So the heavenly strike that you get at rank 5 for your samurai is actually the one that we also have in the main story campaign. It's basically the exact same attack. Meanwhile, the one on that sword is completely different. It's a completely different attack that takes a bit longer. Its animation is basically you do a kind of like a cross slash, then the enemy falls onto its knees, and then you do a downward thrust with the sword and it takes down the enemy. And by the way, if you have both the heavenly strikes, only the one on your katana will be casted, if you were wondering. Otherwise, it's a really amazing sword. There's nothing too much about it. Of course, it comes with the stone stance, which means that it's amazing against enemies that have swords in their hands. The third one is the Master's Katana. I've talked about this in previous videos. Basically, if you want to constantly switch between stances, the Master's Katana is your go-to. It gives you access to all 4 stances with the character that wears this, so that is pretty much it about it. It's an amazing sword if you want to better adapt to enemies' defenses, is all I'm going to say. The next one in line is going to be the Demon Cutter, which is quite interesting. So this also has a stagger effect. When you stagger a target, it also has a 30% chance to throw nearby enemies. So basically it causes a shockwave that kind of throws everybody in about a 180-degree cone around the enemy that you affected with the Demon Cutter, and it can be extremely useful to quick assassinate the other target. Maybe some of your teammates can jump in and help you with that. And the final one is going to be the Musamune's Edge. Melee attacks have a 20% chance to deal double damage. This would have been absolutely insane with the water stance on it, which is why I kind of rolled a water stance on it, so I can do that flurry of attacks, and I can also get that double damage. It's amazing because it works both against HP and against shields and defenses. So if an enemy is holding its guard up, it's also going to deal double guard damage, which means you're going to take them down way faster. By the way guys, I forgot to mention this, but this also works with your ultimate. So for example, for the samurai class, your ultimate swings will also have the possibility of dealing double damage. Like, take this Oni right here. The first strike is kind of like regular damage, it only takes a fraction of its HP. Then the second one is double damage, it just destroys it. And then there's the final one with the final swing, which again is enough to take him down. But I will talk about perks in a different video. This was an unoptimized build that still managed to deal a ton of damage and clear the gold difficulty. Let's move over to the ranged ones. These are the ones that I have right now. I'm gonna start things off with the most OP weapon right now in the game, by far the best, which is the skipping stone bow. Headshots ricochet to a nearby enemy is the effect on it. It's of course a long bow, which means that you can only use it on the hunter, but there is a way to also use it on other classes if you go with something like the versatile perk right here that lets it to be used on others as well. But this with the hunter class is what makes hunters probably the most OP class in the game if you have this weapon right here, because it gives you access to headshots that you are going to do a lot anyway. You're going to ricochet those to nearby enemies, and furthermore it also works with the hunter ultimate. So basically the Eye of Uchitsune is going to automatically track 3 targets into their heads, but if there's other enemies nearby, that can be turned into 6, because all of those will ricochet to all of the other targets around you. And I believe you can make it even more OP if you go with something like, for example, this all-seeing eye at rank 11 that is going to give you 2 additional ones, so a potential of 10 enemies with 1 single ultimate, which is insane, because with a hunter you're constantly going to have the Eye of Uchitsune up because you're doing a ton of headshots. Oh, and by the way, this would also work really amazing with a hunter charm if you have blast arrows, so headshots also heal multiple nearby allies. If you do this, it's going to drop one of these healing things on the ground, kind of like a healing circle, but if you ricochet it, it's going to drop 2 healing circles for additional healing. How crazy is that with the hunter class charm? That is absolutely insane, dude. Other than that, we also have the Weightless Spirit. This just lets your arrows to not descend. That's pretty much the only effect on it. Of course, compared to a regular half bow, it is going to be absolutely insane since you snipe everything no matter how far it is. So that is pretty much its biggest strength right there. And finally, we have the Heaven's Sting. I'm gonna go over my assassin to actually cover this, but the Heaven's Sting is actually quite an interesting weapon. Darts have a 20% chance to instantly kill non-Oni targets. This includes brutes, it includes anything that is not like one of those mini bosses. You have a 20% chance to absolutely murder that in one single shot. Moving on to charms, we have a number of charms right here, but I'm going to go over them really quickly. Bankei's Last Stand or Bankai's Last Stand, 50% chance to ignore arrow damage. Then you have the Sacred Iron. Enemies will deal melee damage to you, but they will have a weaken effect applied onto them. It's a really good one for the samurai because you can just tank all of that damage, and any enemy that touches you becomes weakened, which means they take 25% more damage and also deal 25% less damage to you. So amazing debuff capabilities. Then you have Anjo's Remorse, deal 15% bonus damage when you are at full health. Again, amazing for the samurai, but also works with something like the assassin if you stay at full health and go from the stealth. The fourth one is the Last Breath, which is basically kind of like a cheat death mechanic. So when you are about to take a killing blow from the enemy, you instead heal about half of your HP, or while with 50 health, which is I believe 50% of your HP, but it can occur only every 5 minutes. It's going to be amazing on Nightmare because it basically saves you from getting killed and you can have a second chance to revive your teammates. The Shogun's Fortitude just grants immunity to flash and poison effects, which is amazing for some of the later stages in the survival mode, especially on gold and above. So when enemies explode on death and release those spores, this is perfect for that, though I'm not sure if it's worth it to sacrifice one of these slots for something like this. It is situationally really amazing though. Moving on to the Ghost Weapons one, we have 3 right here, so I kind of got lucky with the Touch of Heaven. Spirit Kunai, getting a kill with the Kunai lowers all cooldown on your character by 15 seconds, and yes, this includes every single thing, ability, and I'm not sure, whatever there is on your character is going to get resetted on its cooldowns by 15 seconds. It's just that you have to make sure that you get the kill with the kunai, otherwise it doesn't count. Now the second one is going to be the Touch of Heaven. It is a sticky bomb that also heals allies on hit, and yes, this includes your own character as well. It's a pretty amazing one because it does 2 really amazing things. First of all, it deals AoE damage to a group of enemies, it staggers them momentarily, and then it also heals you, which is amazing. and if you can get it with something like a fired up perk, it also lights enemies on fire and is going to be absolutely insane. The final one is going to be Lady Sanjo's Surprise, a dirt throw that also has a 15% chance to cause enemies to hallucinate. Hallucination basically turns enemies into allies and they will start attacking other enemies around it. So this includes other enemies but also you if you get too close. So in this case you might want to notify your teammates that you're using this so that they don't attack the purple bar targets once they become hallucinated. Oh, and by the way, don't use it with the fired up perk right here because you're just wasting a hallucinated target. It sets it on fire and it's going to die or have really low HP before it manages to have any impact. Maybe go with the lucky one, maybe even with Rancid, but I think that the lucky one would go best with this item right here because the other two just debuff your target, your hallucinated target, way too much. Finally, we have the ghost weapons too with 3 amazing options right here. The Mist of Yagata makes a smoke bomb that also heals allies in the smoke. By the way, the healing is over time. It kind of puts down this mist over there that you stay until. If there's enemies nearby, you can also like kind of assassinate them as long as the mist is going up, but this is probably going to be the best one for a self-sustained, well, in this case assassin. It also works really amazing for pretty much anybody else that wants to like use the mist ability because it's all around really great. Now Kenji's Shared Brew is also an interesting choice. It's more direct kind of healing, so a healing gourd that also heals nearby allies when used. So this is an instant pop-off. If there's enemies around you, if there's allies around you, they will also get instantly healed. But by far the craziest one right here that in my opinion is in this category has to be the Demon Seeds with this very combination that I have right here. So Demon Seeds applies weaken to affected enemies. Now on top of that, since this is Caltrops, it also applies its regular slow and cripple to enemies and when they kind of step through it. But if you also combine it with the fired up perk right here at the bottom, which lights enemies on fire, it becomes the most absolute insane kind of damage over time ability that you have in the game because they get weakened, they get more damage, they get light up on fire, and they get increased damage from the fire too, and you will basically see enemies even getting one-shotted by the Demon Seeds when they pass through it and getting set on fire. But yeah, this is it with all of the legendary items in the game. Now let me know down below if I have missed any of them, and also let me know down below which one of these is your favorite and on which class. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.